Welcome to today's anatomy question. Hi, Mary Richards.
Hi, Lizzie Lasater.
So we're back with our essential alignment series based on Mama's book, 30 Essential Yoga Poses. Today we're talking about up plank and down plank. That's what she calls them in here. They're also affectionately known to their friends, hi Penelope, as plank and chaturanga. So I have the lucky job today of demonstrating those poses for us all. Before we start, Mary, I want to remind everyone to go to www.experientialanatomy.yoga and jump on our mailing list to find out about our next digital course enrollment period, which is coming up very soon. Mary, tell us some kind of foundational information about this pose. What do you want to focus on today? Just one idea, one tidbit, one thing that can help shift or change our practice. Where are we looking today in these poses?
Okay, I do have like 12 in my head, but one I'd like to talk about right now is head position.
Okay.
Plank pose. Often I have seen on the mat many folks who just let their heads hang down in the pose. It's almost like they're thinking, okay, I know I have to go down into Chaturanga Dandasana, so that intention is gonna pull me down to the earth. And that's exactly what happens when we let our head hang forward in plank pose. It makes the pose exponentially more difficult because what happens in the neck also happens in the lumbar because there's sympathetic curves.
Okay, talk to us about that concept. I know that's a concept you talk about in our course, Experiential Anatomy. What are sympathetic curves? What do they mean?
So they're in relationship with one another. What happens in the lumbar happens in the neck. What happens in the neck happens in the lumbar. See, these are secondary curves, meaning we weren't born with them, and they're less stable. And so they live in a very dynamic relationship with one another. And what happens then with our head position in asana, especially in an asana like Chaturanga, the plank pose, where gravity's got a lot of surface area to pull down on us.
Yeah.
That can really, those curves will definitely respond to one another in relationship to gravity. So plank pose is difficult for many people. And just by changing the position of the head, by having the neck be an extension of the rest of the vertebral column and balancing the weight of the head in relationship to the pelvis, it makes the pose a lot more steady and comfortable.
Well, that is a good advertisement for wanting to give this a try. Let me pause my video here and jump onto the other mat, or onto the mat. All right, so what can I show in a very abbreviated way?
Okay, so first, Lizzie, come into plank pose. And if you want to keep the knees down, that's fine. And I want you to just hang your head. And tell me what you feel.
Gross.
I had a word, gross. But I can see how you're locking out your elbows, how you're really rounding your back body because you're trying to compensate for the weight of that bowling ball hanging off your neck.
And it feels also, I noticed, because you just talked about sympathetic curves, it felt like also my lumbar was rounding a lot.
Yes, because your abdominals were like, whoa, 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 we've got to stabilize the weight of the pelvis. So they had to work much harder, but also less efficiently. So now if you come into the plank pose and just look at a spot on the mat slightly in front of you. And now you can press your hips down a little more and push out through your heels a bit more. And notice how stable you feel.
Yeah, and it feels more dynamic.
Yes, yes. And ideally, in my opinion, we want to get to the point where we're so powerful in plank pose that we can display the normal curves of the column. And we're not going to get there if we practice Chaturanga as like a brief pause before we move into Chaturanga Dandasana and into upward facing dog if you're doing sun salutations. We're kind of skipping those poses.
Right. Okay.
And then,
so the same thing I'm guessing applies for Chaturanga. You want the head to stay in harmony with the spine.
exactly. Because see, if your head hangs down when you start to lower your body to the mat, you're going to really lose power in your shoulders. And we have a high incidence rate of shoulder situations in asana for a variety of reasons, but a major culprit is the low plank position, Chaturanga Dandasana, because we tend to round the upper back and drop the heads of the arm bones forward. And then we try to lift the head to compensate. The problem is that's not where the muscles are to support the shoulders. So by starting with the head in neutral, if you will, it's going to take some of the weight of the world off your shoulders, and then you can really focus on using your mid back.
That feels great. Do you want me to show the head hanging in Chaturanga, or is it?
Only if you put a block under your chest for safety, Lizzie.
Okay.
I would feel terrible if we jacked up your shoulders.
Okay, so it would be like this, and then, oh yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but we see it all the time because see, folks, especially if they're in a vinyasa class, they're thinking a couple asana ahead.
Yeah.
And very few people actually enjoy Chaturanga Dandasana. So they want to get through it into upward facing dog. But the thing is, it's a beautiful pose, and it's really useful as a way station in a sun salutation to collect your energy and then slink up. And you can do that much more efficiently if you balance the weight of the head and the pelvis in relationship to one another.
I love it. I love it. And I was saying just before we started recording, this is such a theme in my teaching recently that feels so important nowadays, the idea of wanting the head and the cervical spine to be in harmony, doing the same thing essentially as the rest of the body, because it feels like I spend so much of my day where my head and my body are doing two fundamentally different things.
Yeah. And so much asana practice, so many people come onto the mat and they want to get it right. And so they're really thinking about what a pose looks like. And you can see that in head position. And we really want to kind of absorb the head, if you will, into the body. And move at the pace of the body rather than the pace of the mind.
That's such a great place to end. It's a great motto for us in our practice. I want to remind everyone to go to this website, www.experientialanatomy.yoga, and jump on our mailing list if you would like to get notified when our next digital course opens for enrollment, which is coming soon. Mary, where can we find you? Tell us your details of your online, your websites, and all of your social medias.
I wish it were simpler, but if you just plug in Mary Richards, you get the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Mary Richards. So MaryRichardsYoga.com. Facebook, a little yoga goes a long way, and on Instagram at Yoga with Mary Richards.
Perfect. I'm LizzieLasater.com on Instagram, on Facebook. Namaste, Mary.
Namaste, Lizzie.
Give Penelope a big kiss for us.
I will.
Bye.